big up yourselves each and every time for coming on. So guys, I'm going to carry on, obviously, from what I spoke about yesterday in terms of the little series that I'm doing, the Next Gen 50, I call it. So it's the best young players in world football. So there's 50 of them that I've looked up, and obviously done William Esteval so far. Yesterday done Giovanni Quenda, and now we move on to a player that many people are not really talking about too much. But to be honest with you, I think this player is going to be, I think he's going to be a very good player in the future, and I think he's going to be a for sure, definitely an England international as well. And that's none other than Sunderland's Chris Rigg. Big up to Reluctant Killer. Big up, bro. Big up for coming on. So yeah, guys. For me, having watched this guy play a couple of times, and again, I will go through some of the numbers in a bit. But from having watched this guy, I think in terms of ability, I think in terms of England's talent, I think in terms of the young players, I think he's one of the best. Big up to Barbara Joseph as well. Very composed on the ball. The fact that he's left-footed as well. I have a slight bias. Big up Daniela Iacona as well. I have a slight bias to left-footers, and whenever I see left-footed central midfielders, or left-sided centre-backs, I do take that. I do take a keen interest in that. Obviously, strikers as well. But for me, I think he's about 5. I think it's about 5'7", I would say, roughly around that height. And what I like about him is the way he receives the ball. His creativity. Can play as an 8. Can play as a 10, and obviously, if need be, can play as an inverted winger as well. Obviously, being left-footed on the right-hand side. And I think someone like Chris Rigg with the profile that he has. Again, Man United, I'm not going to go through too much of Man United, but one sec, big up, man. Yeah. So, Man United, for me, looking at signing younger players, I think this is someone that should definitely be targeted, with the profile that he is. Obviously, the fact that he's English as well, which will help add to the quota of English players. Only 17 as well, turns 18 in June, I believe. Yeah, next month. Turns 18 in June. And as I said, I think in terms of the player himself, Chris Rigg, I think he's one of the best up-and-coming young players that England are producing for me, definitely. And Sunderland have their Championship playoff final tomorrow, which he'll definitely be playing. And obviously, for me, he'll definitely start as well. And I believe, regardless if Sunderland win the playoffs or not, I think he's someone that's going to be playing in the Premiership regardless, in my opinion. I think obviously there's been interest from the likes of West Ham, Tottenham, Man United, Liverpool, and I think this is, as I said, I think Chris Rigg is a player that a lot of teams need to have their eye on, so I think he's going to be a very, very good player, and as I said, because he's left-footed as well, if we look at the England senior team, there ain't no central midfielders that are left-footed, really, when you think about it, I think you've got the likes of Cole Palmer, who's more of a 10 or a right winger. Saka's a right winger, obviously left-footed. Phil Foden is more of a 10 right winger. Who else is there? In Madueke as well, I think is in the squad, is right winger. But in terms of central midfielders, there isn't too many, and I think this is why, for me, he's a special player for me, and I think he's someone that Man United, for me, definitely have to be looking at to sign. I think in terms of the price tag, I think he's valued at something like 40 million for a 17-year-old in the Championship, which is mad. Again, United, if they do go for him, are never going to pay 40 million. I think definitely if Sunderland don't go up this season, I think you can look at that price probably being halved, I would say. But again, you can pay installments for someone like him. So if the total package, let's say 30 million, then obviously any team that wants Chris Rigg, they can pay it over installments, you would say, and do a lump sum up front, if anything, which might be something like 7 million, 8 million, and then pay the rest over installments or performance incentives, But I think definitely, for me, he's someone that needs to be looked at. And as I said, I think if Sunderland don't get promoted, I think definitely he'll be snapped up for sure. So I'm gonna go through a couple of the numbers, because I think for a 17-year-old, obviously turning 18 next month, it is quite impressive, to be fair, the amount of appearances he's racked up. So he's racked up 44 appearances this season with a return of 4 goals and 1 assist, so 5 GA. And I think over the last 2 seasons, as a 17-year-old, he's got 65 appearances under his belt, which to be fair, is very good for a 17-year-old and just shows how highly rated he is, And again, the Championship is a very tough league. And to have 65 appearances in 2 seasons, is no mean feat, to be honest with you. So, as I said, I think he's someone that, is going to be a special player for me. And I think it'll be very interesting to see if there's any other clubs that come in for him. I think if you're looking at a long-term investment, I think the likes of if I'm looking at a Liverpool, a Man City, an Arsenal, a Tottenham, teams that I'm mentioning Tottenham obviously because they won the Europa, so they're in Champions League. I think Champions League teams will do well to get someone like him, because you haven't got to force him into the first team. You can let him bide his time, and then you've got a future, as I said, England international. So I think teams for me should be taking a punt on him as well. I think even abroad, I don't think there'll be many teams abroad. I think you might look at the likes of a Borussia Dortmund, but again, there's been no interest. There's more interest in, obviously, Joe Bellingham for obvious reasons. But, for me, he's like a European-style player, very technical, small in stature as well. But again, with the ball at his feet, is a massive problem for any team he comes up against. So I think the teams like, as I said, in Champions League, they'll do well to get someone like him in. And as I say, just let him feel his way into the first team. Or maybe they might want to loan him out and see how he does. But I think definitely he'll be playing Premiership football next season. I can't see him staying in the Championship again. Because again, he's had 2 seasons in the Championship as a starter. So, he's done his apprenticeship, you would say. He's got his experience. So for me, I think it's a no-brainer having this player, in the Premiership. And again, I'm hoping Man United are in for him. There was inquiries. It's kind of gone quiet now, obviously, from the disappointment of Thursday's game as well. But definitely, I think he's someone that should be snapped up, man, for sure. And as I said, I think we need to keep an eye on this one. As I say, I think there will be a few teams in for him. As I said, I think the fee won't be nowhere near as what's been quoted at 40 million. I think definitely you'll get half of that, for sure. So yeah, that's what I think, guys. But big up yourselves for coming on. Obviously, I'll be back. Well, guys, actually, I'll be back in about, what's time now? 12:38. So I'll be back in about half an hour, guys. 1:15. So obviously, I'm going to be reacting to the England squad. Obviously, I've already scheduled it. So obviously, Thomas Tuchel named his England squad, and I want to go through with you guys what you guys think about the England squad. There's a few absentees in there. Obviously, a few new inclusions as well. So we're going to go through the squad. And yeah, so if you guys want to join me back at 1:15, as I said, it's scheduled. We can go through that. But yeah, big up yourselves for coming on. Big up to Latin Killer, Daniela, Barbara. Yeah, big up yourselves each and every time for coming on, guys. Killer says, I want Sunderland up so we can play them. Derby. Yeah, I hear that. Northwest Derby. Yeah, I know that. I think Sunderland, in terms of their fan base, should be in the Premier League, to be honest with you. They've got a massive fan base. And for me, they still are technically a Premier League team in comparison to some of the other teams that have come up. But against Sheffield United, it's not going to be easy. So I think Sheffield United finished higher than them in the league as well. But obviously, Championship final, anything can happen. And the team that does win the Championship playoff, the money's going to be there. So, but yeah, no, I hear you, Killer, man, because that will be a good derby for sure, man. You know, and obviously some of the derbies like that, you know, that's what you want to see. But yeah, guys, big up yourselves for coming on each and every time. Smash that like button if you haven't done so already. Subscribe to my channel as well. And guys, I'll catch you back literally in about half an hour, 1:15, yeah? So yeah, make sure you guys are back on, and then we're going to go through this England team. But big up yourselves. Take it easy.